This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp is an online platform that helps you find a therapist that will match your needs. BetterHelp offers live video chats, open discussion, conversations with real therapists in real time if that's what you need. I personally love it and have used it now for almost 2 years. I would really recommend, if you need someone to talk to that is not in your family or your friend circle, that you reach out to betterhelp.com and you will receive 10% off if you use my code BGP. So again, that's betterhelp.com/BGP to find the right online counselor for you. Hi, welcome to Big Girl Pants Podcast, where we talk about health, wellness, careers, parenting, relationships, and everything in between. I am your host, April Melton. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Welcome back to Big Girl Pants Podcast. This episode, I've been looking forward to this episode for a long time, and I'm very excited to have you back.
Thank you.
This is Kerri. What's your last name?
Simpson.
Simpson.
Yes.
And you are the Well Nut on all social platforms.
Yes.
The first time we had you on, we talked a lot about CBD. And we touched a little bit on just cannabis in general. But today, we can talk about whatever you want to talk about. I want to have you on because I want to know what you saw in the last 2 years. I think you came on in 2019.
Right.
So just pre-pandemic. I want to know what you saw both professionally and personally in the last couple of years. Don't touch on anything you don't want to talk about, but I'm an open book, so we can talk about whatever you want.
Okay.
And you brought me a gift.
Yes, I did.
And I'm so excited. So first I'll unpack my gift and then we can talk about it. So Holy Hurt Locker and the 7 Keys to Freedom from Chronic Illness, which is magical. I can't wait to read this. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for this.
That is just my story of healing from Lyme disease and hopefully encouragement for people who are still in the midst of their pain and chronic state, to give them hope, because I healed from an incurable disease,
right,
as they call it.
Yeah.
And so I hope that gives them some glimpse of hope that no matter what they've been told by whatever doctors or practitioners, they can choose to heal.
You know, it's so crazy. I was listening to a podcast 2 days ago because I had I recorded an episode on Thursday, and after Thursday I left and I was listening to a book, audiobook, and it's called Signs, and the author is Laura Lynn something. I can't remember her last name, of course, and didn't bring my phone in here with me, but she was talking about a mom who knew that there was something wrong with her daughter, and she had Lyme disease, and not only did she have Lyme disease, but she had another illness that kind of goes hand in hand.
Probably either Bartonella or Babesia.
Bartonella. Mm-hmm. So she had Bartonella, and her mom noticed that she had this rash on her back.
Yes.
Cat scratch fever, right? And the mom was just this whole book is all about signs from the universe. And I've really been struggling lately with my dad passing this, specifically in the past 2 weeks. I don't know. It's been really weighing on me, super heavy on my heart, all of it. So I finally listened to that book, and I was listening to this part about Lyme disease. And this mom was so insistent upon she did all of her research, and she was like, God, there's something wrong with my kid. She's acting so weird. She's acting so different. And she noticed that rash on her back. And the doctors and the pediatricians and everybody was laughing at her because they were like, no, she doesn't have Lyme disease. She's fine. Get her out of here, whatever. So they do all the tests, and they're very surface level. They're not as extensive as they need to be. And then she came back negative for Lyme.
Right.
Well, then she found this lab in North Carolina that did the most extensive testing. And not only did she test positive for Lyme, but she tested positive for Bartonella too. Mm-hmm. And the mom was like, God, I'm finally validated. I knew that there was something wrong with her.
Right.
And ever since going to that lab, she has been progressively improving, but still just
right. Even I'm kind of a unicorn still, because so many practitioners, even in the naturopathic realm, will tell their clients or their patients that Lyme is not completely curable, that you can get it into remission.
Right.
But I am proof that you can be completely cured of Lyme. Now, you can have scars, if you will, or damage done because of the long-term illness that takes a lot longer to recover from. Or once you're on the autoimmune spectrum, I think you're always on it. You just have to live with that. But as long as you make the right lifestyle choices and dietary choices,
mitigate
you
those
will
triggers.
be symptom-free.
Right.
But Lyme is curable. That's what I tell people. And
Big Pharma's listening. They don't want you to say that.
I'm
you
sorry.
Can't say that.
I know. I don't. Hopefully you don't get kicked off your platforms
I don't give
because
a
of me
shit.
saying
Kick
that.
me off. It's cool, man.
But that's the difference between me and other practitioners is that I and both my daughters had Lyme disease, and we are all three proof positive of what we tell people, and that you can completely reverse it. You live in a healing machine.
Yes.
And if you give your body what it needs to function properly and protect it from the things that cause damage, you can heal.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what the disease is. You can name any disease, any autoimmune condition. You can reverse it if you want it bad enough. The problem is healing naturally is painful.
Sure.
And
not easy.
You have to endure healing crises. Some people call it Herxheimer effects in Lyme world anyway. But it's basically a healing crisis that you have to endure. It's kind of like the person on drugs who's going through a detox. And it's painful for like 2 weeks. They're having to let go of what they're used to getting that wasn't helpful for them. And it hurts to flush that
their
stuff
body
out,
was used to
right?
getting, yeah.
So you have to go through that. Now, the problem is some people have been so sick so long that they cannot physically endure the healing crisis required.
Yeah.
So in those cases, and I can usually tell pretty quickly when I meet someone whether they have the countenance to heal or not now, but it's taken me many years in practice to get to that point. So I've had some clients who I learned by working with them that, like, I don't see clients with ALS anymore because ALS is such a highly, like, very progressive neurological damage, right, done already. And most of those people, unless they just got diagnosed and it's just starting, I would not work with them because they cannot endure the healing crises that they would have to endure to get completely healthy, from my experience. And there are some other things that I kind of am leery of working with, but most everyone, I can help them. And I tell them the only way what we do doesn't work is if you don't do it. Seriously, if you come in and you do what we recommend and you do it diligently, you will heal. Usually within less than 6 months.
Let's talk about that. Like, what are some things that, like, some people that you've helped or some things that you've seen? As long as you feel comfortable,
yeah,
for
absolutely.
sure.
My specialty within my specialty, and first of all, so people know, I'm a master herbalist, aromatherapist, health coach. I have a lot of certifications, but the main thing that I do in my practice that is unique is quantum reflex analysis, a form of energy testing using the fingertips.
Okay.
That helps me look at the energetic part of you to tell me what the physical part of you is needing.
Okay.
So it gives us energy eyes, basically. We are 99.159% energy, according to quantum physics.
Yeah.
So how can you help that fraction of a fraction part of you without looking at that massive, most important part of you, the energy, right?
Right.
So QRA allows me to see from the energetic level what the body's crying out for. So every 2 weeks or so with my clients, I look in, I see what they need. I create a protocol based on those needs, bridging the gap nutritionally where they're deficient, and also finding toxic load and helping decrease it. Because my philosophy is there's two bottom line root causes of all disease in the body: malnutrition, toxicity. Okay. So if we're dealing with those root causes, we'll get rid of that other stuff, right? Of course, I'm going to deal with specific infections with anti-infectives for that specific infection. But infection is secondary. Infection can't live in a healthy body.
Right.
So those infections took hold because something was already malfunctioning, right?
Yeah.
Autoimmune happens, and then those things can take up residence. Lyme is unique because it's a stealthy infection and can hide from a healthy immune system.
Yeah.
And then it starts confusing your immune system and causing the autoimmune conditions.
Yeah.
That's why Lyme is often misdiagnosed as autoimmune diseases, because it causes them.
Right.
But it is not in itself, the autoimmune disease is not in itself the problem, it's the infection. So there's other stealthy infections too, like mycoplasms, Bartonella, Babesia, Ehrlichiosis, lots of them.
Yeah.
But, and it doesn't really matter which one you have. And so I had a client yesterday ask me, well, what kind of parasites do I have? And I said, it doesn't matter.
Right.
I could probably determine that with energy testing, but I don't waste my time with that. I don't care what kind of fluke or bug or worm you have.
Sure.
What I care about is what herb is going to kill it.
Right.
And get it out.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm looking for, is the solutions I don't need to name the problem because we're not going to keep it. It's like when a puppy winds up on your steps,
right?
Don't name it unless you're going to keep it, right? So if you have a disease, why name it? We don't need a name for it. We need the solution. We need to get rid of it. So that's what I focus on in my practice. And I've already forgotten what the original question was, girl.
Honestly, that's it.
Yeah, so that's what it looks like working with me. Some of my clients, I mean, probably the most extreme case I had was a young lady, mid to late 20s, wheelchair bound with very, very advanced neurological Lyme. She was numb from the chest down, could not walk, could not feel from the chest down. And her case was really unique because as I worked with her, her feelings started coming back inch by inch. It was like every time I would see her, she could feel a little bit lower in her body until finally we had all of her senses back. And she's walking now. She's beautiful and healthy. But she was the longest heal from Lyme that I had, and it was 9 months. 9 months to be Lyme-free.
It's not that long.
Not long at all when you've had it for years and you're wheelchair bound.
Right.
And, of course, they took the PICC line out. She had a PICC line when I started working with her, still doing antibiotics. She still kind of had one foot in Western medicine because she was scared to walk away from it. But her doctor she was working with for that finally told her, whatever you're doing is working. We're taking it out. Wow. So he took out her PICC line and said, keep doing what you're doing. And that was probably about 5 months in. Yeah. So the last 4 months we healed faster because we weren't 3 steps forward, 2 steps back with antibiotics, 3 steps forward. Because antibiotics are great. They kill some bacteria, but they also add toxic load.
Yeah.
So they're helping with the infection, but increasing your toxic load, which is adding inflammation and other havoc. So we got rid of that. And then it took her another about 6-8 months to get walking again. She was working with a physical therapist, and I'll never forget the day she walked into my office. My husband was there, and we both just started crying because it was like we were so invested in her case, and she didn't tell me she was going to be walking in the door that day. So every time she would come to I was in the home office still, and he would go out and help her mom carry her chair up the steps and in the house, and she just waltzed right in the front door that day. I was like, oh, so beautiful. So those are the things that keep me going because, you surround yourself with sick people all the time. Yeah. It can be exhausting.
Draining.
But, I mean, I got a 4-page written letter the other day from a sweet girl who basically told me I was suicidal when I walked in your office. She was Lyme, too. She healed in 3 months.
Wow.
She's young, and a lot of hers was emotionally rooted stuff, too. So she healed really fast when we found the root causes. And she said, not only do I have my life back, but I am thriving. And just this long handwritten letter.
Like,
who does that anymore?
This is why I do it.
Oh, my gosh. It just fuels
This is my driver.
I said, okay, I'm good for another 2 years at least now.
I'm recharged. My batteries are recharged. We're good.
Yes. So what we do works. And that's, I don't do any advertising at all. It's all patient referral.
That's amazing.
Stories. Somebody sees her and says, what are you doing?
Right.
She was...
What have you done? Yeah.
She was withering and then she's thriving. And months later, what the heck? And then they want to come too and get some of that.
Of course. Yeah. I want what she had.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll take some of that.
Exactly. So that's what keeps us busy.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So, and I'm assuming that those people either heard about you or heard of you from their friends or whatever,
people, family,
your patients, your former patients, whatever. So who's your ideal client?
I love working with chronic illness.
Okay.
My favorite phrase is, I want to be your last resort. Right? Because most people who come
Once
to me,
you've exhausted all other options.
They've tried so many things. I'd rather they come to me first, but rarely do they, because what I do is so outside of the norm.
Sure.
And I thought it was whack the first time I went too, as a patient. I was like, what are you doing? But if you trust the process, quantum physics has been around. It's a science. It's not voodoo. It's not magic.
It's not woo-woo.
It's not woo-woo, but people think that it is.
Well, because we've been trained and ingrained with all of this bullshit for so long. We live in a model. Western medicine is sick care. It is not health care. So we live in a model that is very much diagnose and treat the symptoms, not diagnose the problem as a whole, and talk about how health is holistic. It's everything. It's not, you don't have a headache because you have a lack of Advil, okay? But you're taking Advil because you have a headache, but you're not addressing the root problem.
Absolutely.
You're masking your symptoms with a Band-Aid and then expecting you not to continue to have a headache. That's not how that works. Yeah. That's not how any of this works.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I have clients come in after they heal, they still come in every 4 to 6 months on a routine, whether they're symptomatic or not.
Sure.
Because there are so many mycoplasms, so many toxic exposures nowadays.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's walking around heavy metal toxic right now. I can't even tell you. It's like we are doing so much heavy metal detox right now. It's crazy. So we live in a toxic world. If you're not checking in once in a while, then you want to wait until the symptoms get so loud they stop you again? No, you want to catch it early, even before the exterior symptoms start, because there's a lot of havoc going on at a cellular level when you get a mycoplasma exposure before your inflammation starts, before you start having the joint aches and pains and the brain fog and all those things. So you want to catch it before the symptoms. And with QRA, you can do that.
Yeah.
So why not? So I would love to see a trend in my practice where people start turning to it for wellness
Preventative.
care. For preventive.
Right.
Yes, exactly. I mean, I test myself every day, and my needs are different every day.
Right.
We're constantly
and
changing.
if we did more, if we practiced health like that, if we checked in with ourselves more often versus waiting until we got cancer or waiting until something happens or waiting until your doctor tells you, oh, you have diabetes or whatever, right? Then we would probably all be in a better space. But then Pfizer and Moderna and all those companies wouldn't be billions and billions of dollars, trillions of dollars. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah, of course.
We know that.
Cheers.
Yeah. So the beauty of QRA is that nothing can hide from your energy. Your energy tells all. I mean, if I was testing you right now and had you say, my name is April, you would be locked on solid, right? It would be really hard to break your lock of your 2 fingers. But if you told a lie, my name is George.
Yeah.
Your energy tanks and you can't hold that lock. I mean, it tanks for just a second, but it does.
Yeah.
You can just think a lie and it throws your energy off.
Yeah.
You say the word love, your energy strengthens. Wow. Unless you have a negative connotation to love. If you went through a divorce recently, it might be weak.
Right.
Right. I've seen that. But different words vibrate differently based on what's going through your subconscious when you say it.
Yeah.
And it impacts every cell in your body. So stinking thinking matters. And if you don't stay positive, you will not heal.
It matters so much.
I mean, I've seen clients who were sicker than this other client, and they heal and the other client doesn't. And it's because of their mindset.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
Like you said, it's not just about the health of the body. It's about the health of the mind. It's about the health of the soul. Mm-hmm. I mean, you got to look at all of that.
Everything.
Yeah. So sometimes it takes a village to heal, depending on what your issues are. Because I have my expertise, but I have other people in my arsenal that I can refer people to who their expertise is, spiritual
elsewhere
healing or mindset changing, things like that.
Mindset changing.
Oh, man. That's good stuff. And I do a little bit of that in my practice, but if it gets too intense or deep, then I like to send them on to somebody else who does just that.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. I know. I was actually thinking about this. So that book, I'll tell you, I'll send you that book, but it's amazing. And it's like, it's sort of like, after I read it, it was like a reconfirmation of what I already knew and empowering me with the things that I already felt, like intuition, the universe, spirit, all of it, right? It's like all encompassing, like you said. And there was a part of the book where they talk about, like manifesting, and that's a very kitschy phrase now, right? Like, oh, you can basically, the secret, like Oprah, right. You can just do whatever you want and your life will turn out that way. But it's not about that. It's about like being very realistic about what you want in life and saying it out loud and moving towards that direction, right? Like my husband, I think it was 2 nights ago, he was really bummed out because I think our like homeowners insurance or something went up insanely high because of all the hail or something. Completely bummed out. So sad. It took him out, because he's all about like investing and how much money we can be saving and growing and all this stuff. And our mortgage went up by like $100 or something. And like, for me, I don't give a shit. That stuff doesn't matter to me. If we have enough money to pay the bills, feed ourselves, cover ourselves, and we're not dying and desolate, we're fine. Like, we're going to be fine. Like I just don't worry about that stuff because I just have so many other things to worry about, like my health, my daughter's health, if my dogs are happy, like, so many other things that just money doesn't bother me. But he was so sad. And I was like, Matt, you have to stop letting stuff like that bum you out, because literally the way the universe works, like where a door closes, a window will open. Like you have so many things to be grateful for. I told him, I was like, you have to start practicing gratitude. When something bad happens, you have to make a list of 5 things that you're grateful for and 5 things that you're like so happy about, because one bad thing can literally take you out.
There's studies on gratitude, interestingly enough, that show how it impacts the immune system.
Yes. Like when you are grateful for things and like the way, and energy is so real. How many times have you met someone that's like sick, right? And their energy, like, and not to be mean, but my dad died last year of cancer. And he was an energy vampire. He would suck it out of you. But he's terminally ill.
Yes.
Like, how does he not do that, And you automatically know. Like, every time I go to his house now, because my stepmom still lives there, it's like that energy is still there. So, it's not as draining now, but it was. Like, I had to stay away because he was there, and it was so impactful and so heavy for me to go back there.
So you're an empath.
Oh, God, yes. Like, I feel everything.
You carry everyone's energy.
Which is also why my husband cannot do that. I'm like, you need to go to another room.
You're the chameleon.
Yes.
Yeah, that takes on everybody else's colors.
Always. Yeah.
So it'd be really hard for you to do what I do, even though it's really good to be an empath in what I do, because you have to learn how to,
Yes.
Shake it off and not take that home with you. And I do carry some of that with me a little bit, but I tend to be a little more guarded than one of my daughters is really empathic, and she runs our biofeedback practice. There's another topic.
Yeah.
But she will come out after several clients and just be exhausted.
She's like,
yeah.
I need to step out for a minute. I just need a minute.
I got to go do a detox bath,
Well, and like I do recruiting for a living. So like I even just, like you can feel it, like when you get a text message from somebody, you're like, I know the energy that's behind this text message. Like I can feel that. So it's like I'm very good at being guarded in my professional life. And I know, and I've not that I've created a lot of scripts, but I've learned a lot of scripts about how to have, because people job searching, it's a very emotional time in your life, right? Especially if you don't have a job. It's very stressful. You're literally hanging on every moment or everything that potentially the client says about your interview or whatever, right? So I am very guarded at work, but personal, it's a shit show. Like it's all completely out the window. I'm absorbing everybody's feelings, which is why sometimes I have to say, in the last episode that we just recorded, I'm like, boundaries. They're so liberating. Like me
and
learning,
so important for you,
and me learning boundaries and learning how to implement those and say what I will and what I won't do and what I can't do. Oh my gosh, game changer. Yeah. But yeah, they're huge. And just feeling everything and feeling people's energies, to me, like I automatically know when I'm in the room with a person who knows more than I do, has something to offer, and that I can offer them too, right? Like Jordan Peterson says, you should go into every conversation with under the guise that this person knows more or knows something that you don't. And like, but sometimes you walk into the room and this person is automatically dark. Like it's almost like they have a shadow cast over them.
I call that an oppression.
Yeah. And it's like, in that moment, you have to kind of like withdraw and figure out, assess the situation, find out what's going on, and then you have a conversation with that person or whatever, or you find out, hey, there's no talking to this person. Or like, there's nothing I can do for you because I'm such a light. I can't, it's like really hard for me to turn it off.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very empathic.
You can't turn it off.
No.
I mean, you are empathic and a perceiver. I think you have the gift of perception.
Everything.
So you know people better than they know themselves sometimes, which is a burden if you don't know how to deal with it. It'll make you the most judgmental person or the most loving person in the world, and there's no in between.
Yeah.
Because you have that to carry. Yeah.
Yeah. Super fun. Love
Bless
it.
you. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm not that person, luckily, but I live with one. My husband is very much the same.
Oh,
so,
wow.
Yeah, very much the same.
Nice. I'm sure that has,
Can't hide anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. If my husband is like, if he breathes wrong, I'm like, hey, do we need to talk about something? Is there something going on there? Like, yeah.
I have become interesting. One of the biggest changes for me in this past 2 years with all the stuff is a change in my level of clarity on the spiritual level. And I think I'm seeing a trend in that with a lot of people.
Yes.
A lot of people are a little more in tune with the spiritual realm of things, which is, different, looks different for everybody.
For sure.
But I think everybody's kind of waking up to a new connection of sorts, When my dad passed away, he connected with me spiritually.
So cool.
And I had signs from him. And I remember my mom saying, why doesn't he leave me signs? But I got to thinking, you only see these signs from the other side if you're open to it and willing to receive it.
Yes.
Right? So my daughters and I all got feathers. From my father. And we always knew when they were from him.
Yeah.
They would be in really unusual places and really uniquely placed. One of them, one time I was walking the dog, and those little cracks in the pavement on the sidewalk? One was sticking up, a big, beautiful feather sticking straight up.
And you're like, hey,
between
Dad.
my feet. And I just happened to look down at that time and not step on it. But okay, Dad, that's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
And it's always in times when I'm in turmoil about a decision or something stressing me out. He brought me feathers. My mom sent me bees, which
that's cool.
We're having to talk about that because I don't like bees. But she loved her plants and nurturing the garden plants and stuff. So the first time one showed up right after her burial, I knew it was from her. And then for months after that, we were getting bees all the time. My daughters and I, in the house, things like that.
Whoa!
That would show up in the house, and we'd try to shoo them out, and we couldn't, and then they would just disappear. It's like they weren't even were they really there?
Right.
I mean,
You're like
don't want to sound too crazy woo-woo, but these things were really happening
No,
to
I
me.
say bring it on.
So I know
woo,
about
the
the signs from people who've passed on. It's real. And if you're open to that, you can experience that. And it just brought us peace and comfort as we went through our grieving processes,
Yeah.
So it's not to say that it's a bad thing if you don't get those things, but if you're open to it, you might see more than you realize.
Yeah, and
it's all about the third eye thing too. If you've ever heard of that, your pineal gland in your brain. Most of us have a calcified pineal because of the fluoride in our water. If your pineal is open and functioning, you're more open to the spiritual realm, and takes a lot of detox sometimes to get that open and healed. And so a lot of people are missing out on those types of experiences because of that functionality being shut down.
Wow. I had no idea fluoride did that.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's terrible. Don't get me wrong. But
so you got to protect yourself from, unfiltered waters, and then also probably do some heavy metal detox and things like that to get that pineal functioning the way it should.
So what does
some
that
people call it the third eye because it's the ability to see the spiritual realm clearly.
Right. Yeah. And like your intuition and your
all
sensing
that stuff
energies,
is more
all of it,
in tune, and you're more aware. That voice becomes a little more audible, and you're able to hear it in the midst of the chaos of the world when the pineal is open and working.
And that was the cool. That was the part about the book. I feel like I've wanted to read it for probably 3 to 6 months now, but I wasn't ready. Mm-hmm. And that book it opened the floodgates. I probably cried in the last week, probably every day, just from listening to it and reading it, and just like understanding like these are all the things that my dad was trying to show me, or whatever the case may be, and like all the signs that he was sending me. Like I audibly, and yes, this totally sounds crazy, but I literally don't care. But I like audibly asked him for a sign. I was like, hey man, I was like, show me a sign, because my dad was so cool, and don't get me wrong, he had so many demons and battles that he fought on his own, but he was so cool. And he was like my dad, but also like my big brother. Like he was so funny, and he had the best sense of humor, and like all these things. And like he was the parent that got me. you know, like the one that understood you, that could see you, that would call you out on your shit if you did something wrong or whatever, you know, like, and we had like just so many things in common. Like we both loved like peanut butter and chocolate. Like, doesn't matter what the combination was or what kind it was. We just loved it. That was our thing. But I asked him for a sign, and there was a video, and he loved Facebook. God, I could not get him off of Facebook. He was always, but he sent me a video. It came up in my memories literally the morning after I asked him for a sign of my daughter walking his dog. And his dog was like him in a dog version. Like, my dad died of cancer, and he had cancer in his lung. That's where it started. And then it went everywhere, like his lymph nodes and all of that. And then he was not able to walk towards the end of life. Bob, the dog, also had tumors everywhere, all over his body, and lost the ability to walk at the end of his life because from his hind legs. Yeah. Literally took on my dad's like illness, everything, and died from it. Like, it was crazy. So the video of my daughter, Chloe, she's 7, walking Bob was just like, all right, man, I see you. Thanks, Dad. Like, I needed that to pop up in my memories today. I appreciate it. And I even told him, I was like, I want this kind of sign. And my dad being my dad, he's like, I'm not going to do what you tell me to do. I'm going to give you the sign that I'm going to give you. Like, be quiet. Pipe down there, okay? Chill out. But
isn't it an interesting feeling that you can't even put into words why you knew that was from him?
Yes.
That's like, people will ask me, well, how do you know that feather was from him? I can't tell you, but I just knew.
Yeah.
You know,
yes.
I just, some of them were in such weird, unique places.
Yes.
That you think, how could a bird feather get there?
Right.
And then I would see other feathers and know that wasn't from him.
Right.
They're just like a different. It's different.
Feather. Yeah. It's all right. And I knew it was. There was no.
That's so cool.
Especially because she was like his favorite. Like, I was his favorite kid, but like she was like, she could do no wrong. And he was the only person I trusted to babysit her, like, from the very beginning. Like, just so many reasons why they had such a special bond. And then to see that video of her walking Bob, I was just like, all right, man, I see it. Thanks, man. I love you. Like, I miss you. Wish you were here, but I appreciate that sign, you know? Yeah. But so you mentioned a fluoride and the third eye, and it immediately popped in my head to ask you, like, for everybody who's listening, right? Like, filtered water. First of all, let's address the fact that tap water is absolute garbage and poison. Like, it's literally poisoning us every day. Every day we drink it, we shower in it, we wash our dishes in it, like, all of it. From what I understand, and reading about fluoride, from what I understand, it was like waste or runoff or something, and we needed somewhere to put it. But now it's just in our tap water, and we just think that it's okay. Like,
no, they still add it.
They add it. Why? Right. Okay. Great.
That's maybe a conversation we don't want to get into, but
hold on.
There's lots.
Let me put on my tinfoil hat. Hold, please. Be right back. Thank you.
There are theories about that, but of course, their story is that it helps with teeth, right? And I worked in the dental field over 20 years, so I mean, and that is what dentists will tell you is the kids need fluoride when their teeth are forming for them to have strong, enamel.
But then you look at societies like the Hamza, and they don't have any fluoride or anything, and they eat straight animals and drink blood, and their teeth are whiter than anybody I've ever seen in my life. Like, clearly that's a lie.
Right.
Clearly.
Right. I mean, some of the healthiest teeth are in those indigenous tribes. Read Weston Price's books on, ancestral eating and all of that to learn. And he was a dentist,
right,
who studied the different tribes and their dental health.
Why do these people have such amazing teeth and amazing jawlines? And Americans are like, our mouths are literally getting smaller and smaller because we're not using and utilizing our jaw.
So is our FDA and all the people at the helm, are they really that misinformed that they think we really need this, or is there another reason they're doing it? That is the question of the day.
Or is it like, we've done it for so long, why change it now? Because if we change it now, then there's going to be such an uproar. People are going to be like, what are you doing? What do you mean it's healthy for us?
But there's so many other toxins in our water now too.
Yeah.
That you need to be filtering it anyway. And if you're filtering out those toxins, the fluoride isn't going to survive that filtration anyway. So
what are some toxins that I know?
Glyphosate's the big one.
Right. Which is Roundup.
Right.
Right.
That's the
Which people don't understand. Like, literally, if you buy Roundup for your weeds in your front yard, stop. like
Well, it's not even that now.
awful.
A lot of our produce is
Everything.
grown Roundup Ready. Are you familiar with Roundup
Yeah,
Ready? Right.
which is absolute
So they're putting the
insanity.
Roundup in the seeds.
Right.
So it's in your corn. It's in your oat. It's in your canola when it's growing in the field. So if a bug eats it, it dies. But what's happening is that's also breaking down our gut lining.
Exactly. So what do you think happens to us?
It's breaking down
We're
our
like
gut
a
lining.
huge bug.
Our gut lining is called tight junction tissues, right? So they're woven tissues like this. And when your tight junctions are tight, your lining is healthy.
Right.
Glyphosate causes them to loosen.
Gosh.
And if your tight junctions look like this because of glyphosate, and now you've got probiotics in your intestines trying to eat off your intestinal wall that looks like this, and they go to the wall to eat, and what happens to them? They leak out. And so you can't keep a good microbiome in your gut if your tight junctions are not tight.
Right.
We have a product called Ion Gut Health, and I'm not here to do a commercial for the doctor who created it, but my goodness, it is the only product I know that will tighten those tight junctions within 20 minutes of taking 1 teaspoon of it.
Oh, wow.
And so if you take that 20 minutes before you eat every meal, you're in a tight junction state while you eat. That's amazing. And what I see in my practice is my clients need probiotics every day when I start working with them.
Okay.
We're replenishing all those lost probiotics daily.
Sure.
And then after they're on gut health for a week or two, we start getting to cut that back to every other day, once a week.
Because they're maintaining
once a month.
the good
Okay,
bacteria.
now you don't need probiotics. Just have some kombucha or a little yogurt or something with live cultures in it once every week or two.
Okay.
As long as you're eating good foods, and fueling your microbiome with good prebiotics, it's going to flourish as long as those tight junctions stay tight, right? It's amazing. But glyphosate, they did a study on rainwater probably about 4 or 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
And it was in 70% of our rainwater then. So what is it like now?
Right.
So you walk out in the rain, you're getting exposure to this. You cannot avoid it. And this is why I tell people in our environment that we've created for ourselves today, not just in our diet, but just walking outside and breathing the air.
Sure.
You cannot be fully detoxed in a good detox state and a clean state in your body unless you are diligent in doing some form of routine detoxification.
Okay.
Now, maybe drinking lots of purified water and exercising is enough for you if you're healthy. If you're autoimmune, you probably need more than that. You need to be far infrared sauning. You need to be drinking green tea. You need, doing other things that we know can help dislodge and move those things out. Maybe taking some binders like zeolite or bentonite clay. If you're not doing these things, I'm sorry, you're toxic.
Right.
And toxicity is one of those 2 root causes of disease in the body.
Yeah.
So if that's why we see sickness on the rise.
Everybody's
and autoimmune
sick.
disease.
Are you kidding? Everybody's sick and overweight.
And there's over 100 different autoimmune diseases now.
And
they just keep adding new names.
We just don't
to
know.
the,
It's just an autoimmune disease. It falls under this huge blanket.
It must be autoimmune because we don't know.
And you're like,
what
the
it
hell
is.
am I supposed to do about that? They're like, we don't know.
Yeah.
You live with it.
Yeah.
What?
Now, those are the people who come to me. My ideal client, that's them.
Got it.
If you've been told it's incurable, I'm your gal.
All right.
If you have something that you've been told you have to live with the rest of your life, no, you don't, come to me.
Okay.
That's what I love working with and being people's last resort.
I know you mentioned the heavy metal detoxing. So, what does that? Let's say we're starting from scratch, right? Mm-hmm. Let's say I don't have an autoimmune issue or something that a doctor has told me I have to live with forever. Let's just say that I am quote unquote healthy. Mm-hmm. Actually, we can use me as an example. So I had something called pelvic inflammatory disease. Mm-hmm. So my tubes are blocked. I can't get pregnant naturally. That's what I've been told. I don't trust nobody. Mm-hmm. But that's what I've been told, right? So if I was your patient, what would you tell me as far as maybe a detox or something that I can maybe eliminate some inflammation inside of my body or whatever? First of all,
if they're blocked, why are they blocked? Are they blocked because of inflammation? Are they blocked because of a deformity? I've
had a kid before.
I know
I've had two children actually. So it was from a STI, a sexually transmitted infection. Mm-hmm. I had chlamydia. back.
So is there scar tissue?
Yeah, it's scar tissue.
Okay, well, scar tissue can dissolve.
Okay.
So it's hard. It's a hard game, but it can. There's some essential oils that are very helpful for that.
Okay.
If I see any kind of blockage or inflammation, cysts, scar tissue, these things you have to address very specifically, but it can be reversed. I'd have to really think on that one with the location where it's at.
Yeah.
And play with it a little bit, hands-on testing you to see where you would need to apply the essential oils and which oils resonate strongest for you.
Okay.
But trying to reduce that scar tissue down so that it opens up more and more and more.
Sure.
So that would be the approach I would take with that.
Sure. But outside of that, let's say other things that I can be doing in my life, right? So
so I'm thinking you want anti-inflammatory diet. You want anti-inflammatory herbs.
Okay.
And probably look and see if there's any toxic load that we need to detox out because toxicity can cause chronic inflammation.
Right.
So you want to do everything you can to reduce any inflammatory response in the body.
Okay.
Too. So I don't know if you have any other symptoms, aches, pains, brain fog, anything like that might indicate loads of toxicity in the body or toxic or chronic inflammation in the body.
So it's very personalized, obviously.
Always. Yeah, that's why people ask me what my protocol is for Lyme, because that's kind of a key phrase in the Lyme circles. Well, what's your protocol? Well, I don't have one protocol.
Right.
I've had over 100 Lyme clients heal from Lyme. I had over 100 different protocols that were changing every 2 weeks typically.
Exactly.
And I meet the body where it's at today.
Yeah.
And every time I see you, I meet your body where it's at today. And what I'm doing is bridging gaps, just giving the body what it's asking for and trusting the process. Just give the body what it needs and trust the process. And it works.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So let's say outside of my issue that I'm having with fertility, purified water. Mm-hmm. What does that look like? What kind of purifier do you use?
I use a Berkey.
I was about to say.
Yeah, Berkey.
I also use a Berkey.
Yeah, Berkey's pretty good as far as cost effectiveness.
Right.
I mean,
and
obviously
it's
there's
proven
some. Yeah.
that it filters the fluoride.
Yes.
And if it's filtering the fluoride, it's filtering everything else out.
Yeah.
And it tastes good.
I was very lax when I was healing from Lyme and as a patient. I mean, I started out if you'd told me back in 2013 2011 when I first started my healing journey that I was going to be a health coach. I mean, this was the girl who ate chocolate chip waffles and washed them down with Dr. Pepper for breakfast every morning. I did not know nutrition.
Yeah.
I did not know anything about this stuff. I began my learning process so that I could heal, so that my girls could heal. And then that launched what I am today. So, but
I bet that was a fun transition.
So water was not on my radar. Right. I was drinking, the water, whatever came along, and that didn't matter to me. And I healed anyway. So I always thought, well, water is not the priority here. But I mean, we drink a lot of water and we should drink a lot of water and we are water. So the quality of our water does matter. And I honestly probably could have healed faster if that had been enforced and recommended to me.
Yeah.
So I do tell my clients, you need to drink purified water and it needs to be clean, purified water. If you use Kangen water or reverse osmosis water, yay, but you have to put your minerals back in it because it strips everything.
It's just like
doesn't.
Distilled water.
But even with Berkey, I put minerals back in because most of our water is mineral deficient.
Exactly.
When it comes through the tap anyway. So I always add more in. And last time I had a biofeedback done on myself with a Cadillac of biofeedback machines. She shook her head while she was reading my readout and she said, I have never seen this before. I got a little concerned and she said, no, you have perfect pH. I was like,
yes.
Yeah. So I was like, that's a win.
That's a win. I'll take that
she
one.
Said,
Thank you.
She said, I've never seen perfect pH balance. So yay.
Yeah.
That was awesome. But I attribute it to the fact that I could put back good minerals in my water all day long, every day. Anytime I fill my cup that I usually carry around, I've got added pH in it.
Yeah.
Because I know that that's not in there and I don't have to take other mineral support. Yeah. I drink 1 glass of water first thing in the morning with a half teaspoon of pink salt, sea salt, not Himalayan salt, sea salt.
Okay.
And that is rich in minerals, and then I put the pH minerals in my water.
Perfect.
So yeah, it's important to get clean water. Which bottled waters are best? Ozarka, not the best. Ozarka, actually, I've tried it. You cannot pH balance this water.
Wow.
You can add minerals in all day long. It
Doesn't
never
matter.
balances. It's so acidic, but it's water. It's better than nothing. Honestly, Market Pantry from Target is reverse osmosis water.
Yeah.
So if you're going to drink a bottled water and you want reasonable price, that's the one I recommend for my clients who are frugal. If you can afford Fiji water or Essentia, which are pH balanced, naturally pH balanced waters, those are great.
Yeah.
But they are much pricier.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're still dealing with the plastics, BPA free or not.
Right.
There's other
It's still
chemicals leaching.
Yeah.
So they're not perfectly clean, but sometimes you need the convenience and practicality of
for
a
sure.
bottled
And
water.
like, you know, when you're out or if you're doing something, or like today you came on a podcast, like you know, if you need some water, that's fine. But we're talking about like what you're drinking day in and day out, like what you're putting in your food, what you're cooking with, like all of that stuff.
Yes.
And that's why, and honestly, like the Berkey, even from a cost perspective, makes the most sense because you're going to get the most use out of that. You just have to carry around your own water bottle.
Right.
Like, which is fine.
Right.
Or keep it in your fridge
probably
in glass
the biggest
or
problem
whatever.
with Berkey is people tend to be lax about the
filter.
upkeep and cleaning the filter and replacing the filter and noting when you've replaced the filter so you know when to replace it again, that kind of thing. So you do need to check it. And I think they have drops that you can buy from the company and test your water for chemical and know when your filter stops working too. So it's real important for the upkeep of it. The other thing I was going to mention about water, what was it? Not coming to me.
I know.
So,
if
I think of it, it'll come later.
Or when you stop thinking about it, that's when it'll come.
Mm-hmm.
So, and outside of that, like from the water perspective is fine, but everything else you would say in your practice is very personalized.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. I tell people eat organic as much as possible, single ingredient foods as much as possible.
Right. Nothing with a label.
Yes. And as far as supplements, that's the Wild West too.
Totally.
I mean, the beauty of the Wellnut Center here in Frisco is we vet everything for you. If you come in that store to buy a supplement, you know it's clean, it's energetically sound, no excipients. Because if there's one chemical in an herbal supplement, it will kill it energetically.
Wow.
Because chemicals are just dead energetically. So you can have the best turmeric in that capsule ever.
Right.
But if they add maltodextrin or silicon dioxide or something like that, it kills it energetically.
Wow.
But then there's the problem that a lot of turmerics that are floating around out there are dead energetically too. So not all turmeric is created equal. I'll tell you a story. One of the lines of supplements that we carry is Premier Research Labs.
Okay.
Love them. They're in Austin. They actually have like 7 different tests they put ingredients through before they'll put it in a capsule. And one of them is a DNA lab. They have a DNA lab on site.
Wow.
One of the few companies that does that. They don't have to. They choose to.
Right.
And they had a big vat on their shipping dock when I was there several years ago touring their place. And I asked them about it. I said, why is it sitting there? And they said, well, it's going back to China or wherever they had gotten it from. And I said, why? And they said, well, it's supposed to be carrot powder. Went through 3 of their tests, passed them, went to the DNA lab, wasn't carrot powder.
Wow.
It didn't have any carrot DNA in it at all.
Wow.
It was baking powder that had been food colored. Wow. And he said, now think about this. He said, we're sending it back because we won't accept it. We will not use it.
But somebody will buy it.
What's going to happen when it goes back? It's going to get sold to the company who doesn't have a DNA lab because it's going to pass the tests that they do. And it's going to go in your supplement that you're going to take because you don't know any better. And there's no FDA regulations. There's nobody checking these ingredients. There's nobody watching over these companies that are selling you supplements. So if you don't have energy eyes like I do to test it energetically, how do you know?
Right.
So I just tell people you have to know which companies are trustworthy. If you don't, call me. I'll give you a list of 7 of them you can choose from that I think are pretty well, most of the time, good.
Yeah.
And then there's the fact that you can find an energy practitioner. One of the services I offer is to test people's supplements, and people will bring in baskets full, like laundry baskets full of supplements, and I'll test every one of them and tell them whether they're energetically sound and if they need them. Right? So it helps them narrow down what, is it strong and is it strong to you?
Yeah.
For instance, I had a client in today who had been taking curcumin, which is a blend of turmeric with black pepper.
Yep.
She's allergic to black pepper. Didn't know it. So she's been taking this. She's chronically inflamed, can't get rid of the inflammation. And I was like, well, why are you taking this? And she said, well, that's what my other practitioner suggested I take. He wanted me taking this instead of regular turmeric. I said, well, let me show you why you shouldn't. And I took her to her stomach point and put black pepper in her field, and it blew it off. And it was just weak. So I said, you don't need to be taking any amount of black pepper.
Man.
So there you go. So it's
supplements are basically a crapshoot anyway. Not that they're not good, but you just don't know what's good and what you need.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And it's unique to each individual.
Exactly.
It really is. I mean, that's why I do food sensitivity tests, because your food sensitivities can change.
Yeah.
Where you're at right now might not be where you're at after you take a good probiotic for a while and you get on Eye on Gut Health or something. But so your food sensitivities will change. But right now, if you're drinking coffee every day and you're allergic to caffeine,
right,
and you're wondering why you feel inflamed all the time, it's probably that cup of coffee every morning.
And we just don't have, how much better as a society would we be if this was more commonplace?
Right. Yeah.
But then again, Big Pharma wouldn't make any money.
And people ask me, they say, well, our grandparents didn't have to worry about this. Well, they didn't live in the same environment we live in.
Yeah, and most of them died between 60 and 70.
And
they didn't have a very high quality of life at 60 and 70.
True. And our bodies are designed to tolerate a certain amount of toxic load.
Right.
They are.
That's why we have natural built-in filters, like our liver and our kidneys.
But your liver and your kidneys can only tolerate so much before they go, enough.
And we're done.
And I have a list of 15 symptoms that you will have if your kidneys are overloaded with toxins. And I have another list for liver.
Yeah.
And they're things you wouldn't think about, like right shoulder stiffness.
Right.
And it's who would think that their right shoulder stiffness was because their liver's
yellowing
toxic.
of the eyes. How do you know?
Dark circles under the eyes is liver, Some of the symptoms can be either or.
Sure.
But you actually mentioned, can I bring up something you talked about in a podcast a month ago?
Yeah, you can say whatever you want.
You had another nutritionist on, and you were talking about doing a carnivore diet for 6 weeks or so.
I did it for 3 years.
Girlfriend.
Yeah.
And you said you couldn't sleep.
I slept like shit.
And I was literally talking to my phone saying,
you're like, this is why you can't sleep.
April, it was your liver. It was
really?
your liver.
It's my liver?
Yes.
Okay.
Liver will wake you up in the middle of the night. And here's why.
Okay.
You hear the Chinese body clock. The liver really starts doing its filtering massively in the middle of the night while you're sleeping. And if it runs into problems, you wake up and you're agitated. You get busy brain. You can't relax.
It was awful.
And I went on the keto diet for about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And it took me 3 years to get my liver function back straightened out.
Oh, shit.
It was. Are you type A blood type?
I'm actually A+,
Okay.
A positive.
Yeah, I figured.
Okay.
Because
I just learned that this week.
Type O can thrive on the carnivore diet.
Wow.
Type A's, not so much.
Okay.
Typically.
Okay.
I mean, I never say
whatever.
100%,
Yeah.
but I thought, I bet she's type A. because you eat too much meat on type A.
Yeah.
You are going to slam your liver.
So what is best for type A?
Probably more Mediterranean or even
Cool.
maybe not vegan. It
Right.
depends.
Yeah.
I like to dig deeper into the epigenomes.
Sure. I need to come see you. It's game over. I'm going to come see you.
Good.
You've sold me. Done and done.
The epigenomes will tell you a little deeper. And if I did food sensitivity testing too, I could maybe tell you more just based on what you're sensitive to and what you're not. But you probably can tolerate meat and chicken and turkey, but you really love your seafood and your vegetation, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the olive oils and berries.
Oils, nuts, and berries,
Yeah.
Yeah. So I call that more Mediterranean maybe diet.
Yeah. But I'm not someone who can handle a lot of the refined grains or carbs like pastas, rices, bread, stuff like that. It just doesn't work well with my
Honestly,
body.
most people
That's good.
don't. It's mainly because of the quality
Right.
of what we have here.
Right.
I mean, if you sourced good sprouted grains or einkorn flour products instead of typical.
Right.
Are you familiar with einkorn?
No.
Einkorn is basically German for ancient grain.
Oh, okay.
If you look at a wheat stalk here in the United States compared to one grown in Europe, einkorn.
Right.
It looks like a different plant.
Oh, of course.
They have so genetically modified our wheat that it's hardly digestible. So I tell people, if you want pasta, go buy pasta that says made in Italy on it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't say that it's non-GMO, but it is because they don't allow GMOs over there.
Interesting.
So I heard a story about a woman who visited Italy and she could eat things that she couldn't eat here. So she ended up asking for a transfer and moved there. I was good for her.
She's like, I just feel I'm thriving in Italy, okay?
Yes. So she lived there so she could eat her bread and her desserts and not be miserable. Yeah. Why not?
Which is important.
But it's because what we have here is just so not digestible.
I know.
So, yeah, you could probably pick and choose and maybe be able to add a little bit back in your diet. But the truth is you don't probably need to.
And like if I do want it or eat it or whatever, it's so rare. Because it's just like you said, like I just don't love those things. Yeah. So it's not like I'm missing out on it anyway. Right. It doesn't make me sad that I'm missing it or whatever.
Good. Yeah. So we don't need to find a solution for that because it's fine without it.
I don't care. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, for sure. That is so interesting. Yeah, because I definitely tried it for a long time and it was awful. I was waking up in the middle of the night 2, 3, 4 times and then it was a shit show. I couldn't sleep.
And then you were saying you couldn't go to the bathroom. Your BMs were not regular, and that's very typical liver gallbladder too. So really, I tell people if you're going to try a keto or carnivore diet, you need to be supporting your liver and gallbladder, taking some supplements, milk thistle, turmeric, things to help them do their job better.
Why are you doing that? You know,
I mean, but type O's can do it. I mean, I've heard of people like I think Joe Rogan talks about it, that he's on a strict, straight meat diet. That's all he eats, meat.
Yeah, he's on meat and fruit now.
But I bet you anything he's type O.
Actually, he is type O. Yeah. He talks about that.
Yeah, so there you go. So he can do it because his liver's it's a superfood for type O blood types.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's not for me.
No.
That's all right. Whatever.
No.
We'll figure it out. I'll come see you and then I'll get all fixed
once in a while.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's the thing is I found that it was a lot of palate fatigue. I was like, this is just not, I don't feel nourished, you know, and I'm just so tired of eating all this meat all the time. Yeah. But I thrive when I eat the salads or the vegetables or cauliflower, leafy greens, stuff like that with some berries and nuts and stuff like that. That's my favorite. Those are my favorite things.
Yeah, I have a problem with the carnivore diet. I mean, I've heard a lot of different people talk about it from different perspectives who love it. But I just think without balance, there is no balance. And you need certain nutrients that you will not get from meat.
Right.
Period. So unless you're supplementing those. Right. And I think you may have even talked on your podcast about how sometimes supplements don't uptake in the body the same as micronutrients from food. So
they're not as bioavailable.
And they don't have the family of things they need with them to function at
It's the same
peak,
thing as the difference between eating a spoonful of sugar versus eating an apple or grapes, right? You can eat that sugar. Your body might have a similar reaction as far as blood sugar is concerned, but you're also not getting the fiber, the nutrients, the vitamins, the minerals from the fruit that when you're eating the sugar. So keto and carnivore people really like to demonize the sugar of fruit, right? And even my husband's like, fruit just has so much sugar. I'm like, yeah, but it's so good. And it's so good for you. And you feel so different after you eat a bowl full of berries than when you do after you eat a donut.
Energetically, it's different.
Yeah.
If I tested white sugar, it's dead energetically.
Right.
There's no life in it at all. It's so processed and so nasty. It's like a toxin. The only person I ever saw test strong to sugar was in a diabetic tailspin when I tested him, and he just needed sugar no matter what, right? So his blood sugar was so low, he even wanted white sugar. Yeah. That was fascinating to see that it actually was on for him because it was just like sugar, any kind. Yeah. It doesn't matter. And then the other sugars are just a different energy input to the body too. Yeah. Because they're live.
Which has other benefits too, in so many other ways. Uh-huh. So for those who are listening that didn't hear your episode last time, so you are the Wellnut, right? Is that the name of your place in Frisco?
Yes, the Wellnut and Nutrition Center.
Wellness Center, Nutrition Center. Got it. Where is it in Frisco?
It's on Main Street, down in the rail district, the old part of town.
I was actually just there this morning at Karma.
7th. Yeah, right by there.
Yeah.
7th and Main.
Okay, perfect. And so for everybody who's listening who's local to Texas or local to DFW, most people know where Frisco are. It's growing insanely.
Yes.
What other services do you offer? What do you carry?
Well, our store, I chose to have a storefront in the center because we're in a walking district, and I thought it would be a good education platform for people to learn about what we do there.
Yeah.
It would draw people in. And we get people walking all the time. What is this place?
Right.
I had somebody come in the other day who thought it was an ice cream store because of the Walnut name. It was like, never know. But it drew him in, and he learned about us. And I hear the girls, doing my little 90-second commercial, familiarizing them with what I do in my practice there.
Yeah.
So I practice there. My eldest daughter, Emily, now oversees our biofeedback practice. We have Healy Biofeedback, which is vibrational therapies. It's great for physical support, but also emotional. So this past couple of years, a lot of people in a tailspin with anxiety and fear and emotional depression. It's a game changer for that.
Okay.
So, and it's very easy. We can do it remotely. We have clients all over the country. A lot of what we do is remote.
Cool. So they
practice.
don't just have to come to Frisco to get the benefits from your practice.
And we do have an online store as well. So if people want to shop someplace that's safe, right? They know we've already vetted all the supplements. They know this line is good and effective, then they can shop our online store as well.
Awesome.
Because if you go to Amazon, I had a client order hydrochloric acid off Amazon that was 7 years expired. And it was not an expiration date that you could read. I knew the company and knew how to decipher their code on the bottle because I carry their products. And I said, this is not just expired, it's 7 years expired. Because people will buy it in bulk and sell it on Amazon. They don't care.
No.
They're going to stack it up to the ceiling in their garage and sell it, and
money.
That's what they care about. So it's a good line, and they're not supposed to sell. Credible lines of supplements will not resell on Amazon. So if you see it being resold on Amazon, it's not a vetted reseller.
Wow.
So most of your companies like Cellcore, Claire Labs, Premier Research Labs in Austin, they do not allow reselling on Amazon.
Oh, wow.
Like if I can't open a store on Amazon and sell their products, I have to sell it through my own website or send people to them.
Good.
Yeah. So, and that's true with most viable companies.
Sure.
So if you see it on Amazon, it's probably not a place you should trust to buy your supplements.
Interesting.
FYI.
Well, I'm sure that a lot of people listening buy their supplements on Amazon.
Right. It's so easy and you get it so fast, but you
also
need to really vet the vendor.
Exactly. And not only just vetting the vendor, but taking into consideration what we're putting in our bodies. Yes, it's going to be cheaper on Amazon, but are you really getting what you need? And is it really aligned with what you need?
Right.
Right?
Right.
So many different things.
So then we also have BEAMER, which stands for Bioelectromagnetic Energy Regulator. It's a pulsed electromagnetic frequency mat that helps reduce inflammation, increase circulation, oxygenate the blood cells, and it does it within 8 minutes of sitting on it. So it's a great tool.
And fast.
And so we use it for people who've had injuries. They have, twisted ankle, swollen, takes down the inflammation fast. We also have spot treatment near infrared light. So that's for skin healing.
Okay.
So my husband got a dog bite. He went and got stitches. 7 stitches were required in this dog bite on his hand.
Wow.
And he came home. We beamed it twice with the red light. And day 3, it literally looked like he had stitches in a healthy hand.
Oh, wow.
It was crazy. I think he took the stitches out himself. He didn't even go back.
He's like, I'm just going to cut these out. We're done with this. Thank you.
He's just a retired fireman. He was like, I'm done.
No big deal.
Yeah, no more doctors. So that was an amazing. I wish I had taken before and after pictures because that was pretty. It surprised us how fast it healed. So those are the kinds of things we work on for people with that. And those are the services that we offer. Yeah, I've already talked a lot about what I do in my practice, so I don't need to mention that. But the storefront has been huge. It really is, because it does help us educate people who don't have a clue about naturopathic healing.
Educate the masses,
That's so important to me. It's why I'm on the board of the Holistic Chamber of Commerce, Dallas Holistic Chamber.
And there's an event coming up. What is it called?
Yeah, well, there's this is not the Chamber's event, but we
Right.
will be there, represented there. It's called Changing Life and Destiny.
Okay.
It's on April 3rd. I don't know when this will air, so I don't know if this will
This will air before then.
Oh, good.
I'll make sure it does so people can know about the event.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So it's in Plano, and I think just to attend, it's $35.
Okay.
But there's over 100 different vendors there who will be bringing the newest, latest, greatest technologies in natural healing.
Yeah.
There's a man, Al is an amazing man from California. This is only the second event he's done. He's been planning it for 2 years because it was supposed to happen in 2020. And of course did not. So he is ready to roll. And he's been working on this behind the scenes for 2 years. So excited to come. There's some pretty big names going to be speaking. So there will be lots of different side rooms where people will be doing talks. If you have any interest at all in natural healing options, you should go to this event. It is going to be amazing.
I'm for sure going to go.
Yeah. So that's awesome.
I'm always into learning new stuff.
And then the Dallas Holistic Chamber is actually ramping up for our big gala on April 26th.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 29th. We will be celebrating 20 years, which is, for a all-volunteer Chamber of Commerce that's a niche like we are.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing that they've made it 20 years and still thriving. And it was tough this last 2 years. Lost a lot of membership because we weren't meeting in person and all of that. So we're excited to kind of ramp up. I joined the board this past year to act as community liaison or community connections chair. So my big passion is to educate the masses.
Yeah.
And why not work with the board or with the chamber to do that? So we'll be hosting fairs throughout the Dallas Metroplex. The first one will probably be here in Frisco in the fall.
Okay.
Is kind of the plan anyway. And we will be bringing in other practitioners and products and companies that are holistic minded. Like there are maid services who only use organic cleaning products.
Yeah.
There are so many things that people don't know are out there and available to them.
Yeah.
And we want to make them aware that you can cut back on your toxic load. You can take better care of your body and your family if you make these choices. So we want to make these products, services available to them. So that's what will be at these events.
Yeah.
So we're really jazzed about that. But the gala is coming up, and if people want to help support the chamber and what we're trying to do in the community, they can actually either donate to our online auction, go to holisticchamberdallas.org and go to the gala page and see all the opportunities to sponsor or donate, or just sign up on the page for the auction and bid on things. There are some incredible services with local practitioners for far-infrared sauna treatments. There's a reflexology session, I think. There's a craniosacral therapy.
Oh, so good.
Epigenetic testing of your hair. Things like that are just really cheap starting bids. So you could get a really good deal on some amazing services if you go check that out. So yeah,
that'd be really
that's
cool.
my little commercials.
That's good. Those are great. And if you send me all of that information too, we will put it in the show notes of the show. But also Keith, my amazing producer here at Big Girl Pants Podcast, he will put it in like all the slides. So like he'll put up an image of the Dallas Holistic Chamber of Commerce, and then he'll put in the Wellnut a slide so that people can see like your logo and your information, all that stuff too.
Wonderful.
I know he's
Thank
very
you.
fancy.
Appreciate that.
So you brought me some gifts.
Yes.
You bought me this Bump Brew. I love this herbal tea. So I will actually tell you a story about this. Organic raspberry leaf tea. So when I had Chloe, I had a home birth, and I was so nervous about my husband because he was in oil and gas. So he had a very strict schedule. So I asked my midwife, I was like, is there anything we can do? Because I don't believe in inductions. I don't believe in interventions, but is there anything we can do? She was like, there's one thing we can do. It's called an herbal induction. And I was like, what does that mean? And what I didn't know is basically I would have pooped my brains out and everything that was left in my insides to induce labor. But that's what happened. And I drank she made me a tea with red raspberry leaf tea, and it had 20 tea bags in it.
Wow.
And I had to sip it. And I took these herbs every hour on the hour. And then I started at 8 a.m. At 2 p.m., my water broke. Like,
Awesome.
you talk about some crazy midwifery, some herbs, some teas. I was like, hey, whatever, I'm here for it. But
Awesome.
Thank you so much for this.
Yeah.
This is so nice.
Well, it doesn't just help in pregnancy. It helps prepare the body for pregnancy
Right.
too.
Yeah.
So
I'll drink it every day. And you brought me
herbs are
this
amazing.
awesome little tea steeper.
yes.
You just put it in the hot water with your
and
tea
then
in
you
it.
squeeze it down and it squeezes the goodness out of the herbs
my
too.
goodness.
So there you go.
You're the best. Yes, so I am. We've been trying to get pregnant for 18 months now. And I've had a kid before. So I was like, what's going on? So we talked to a fertility treatment and we went to a fertility center and we talked to a practitioner, and she was like, your tubes are blocked. One of them is completely blocked. The other one is like halfway blocked. So even if and I had a miscarriage on Christmas Eve. And I was not very far along, but I knew that it wasn't like a regular period because of the amount. And I was like, okay, there's something going on. Like, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
So I found out between Chloe and now that, yeah, I did have an STI, and that caused that pelvic inflammation disease. So that's where we're at, which is awesome and not frustrating at all. But thank you so much for this, because we are going to exercise or figure out all of our options from here and going forward.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Did they offer any options? Just curious.
No, I'm surprised that they didn't even say like we should do surgery and try to unblock your tubes or something. But no, they didn't offer anything.
Okay. Interesting.
And me, being the crunchy granola hippie that I am, I'm like, there's got to be something.
Yeah.
Right? There's got to be something, because I know that I'm fertile. They even tested all my levels, right? Because I gave like 37 vials of blood. But they were like, you're the number, I guess there's a number between 1 and 9. No, sorry. Average range is 1 and 4. I don't remember what this test is. It's like AMH or something. I might be wrong. But it basically tells you the level of fertility you have and the egg count that your body still has or maintains. The average number with someone who was going through IVF is 1 through 4. I'm at a 9. So like, I'm very fertile. And I have a lot of eggs. So that's not the issue.
Gotcha.
It's just literally like a roadblock, you know, not getting anywhere, not going anywhere. So I know that's where we're at.
Interesting.
Maybe you and me can
we could
explore
help you.
further.
I would love to see if there's something we could do.
Yeah, I would love to too. That'd be awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
Please plug yourself again too. So thewellnut.com.
Yes, thewellnut.com. And I'm at The Wellnut on Instagram or at The Wellnut Center for the storefront information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. You'll have to come back like every year. We'll just do an annual.
Let's do it.
Yeah, an annual episode. Thank you so much for listening to Big Girl Pants Podcast. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Please, if you have any questions or you feel like something is going on in your body that doesn't seem right, I would highly suggest you reach out to Kerri. She is so in tune with so many different things that I can't suggest her more. I can't wait for me to explore. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me an email at biggirlpantspod@gmail.com. If you would like, please subscribe, leave us a review, and find us anywhere that you find your podcast, both YouTube and Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and Stitcher. And thank you so much for listening.